Welcome to this edition of Everything You Need to Know in 3 Minutes. I'm Michael Brooks. On Everything That You Need to Know in 3 Minutes, pick a topic, sometimes from pop culture, sometimes from politics, break it down for you, give you everything you need to know in 3. On this edition of Everything You Need to Know in 3 Minutes, what is a terrorist attack? 3 minutes starts now. We're still feeling the fallout of this past Wednesday's attacks on the Charlie Hebdo satirical magazine in Paris, the terrorist attacks which claimed the lives of 12 people, including journalists, cartoonists, and police officers, including a Muslim police officer in Paris. As the world deals with the consequences of this attack, the horror of the attack in and of itself, as well as the fallout from it, we've got some very important questions we need to ask ourselves about how we covered these events. Former CIA Deputy Director Mike Morell told CBS News that the Paris attacks were the worst terrorist attacks in Europe since bombings in London in 2005 that were aimed at that city's transport system. Now, those attacks were terrible. These attacks were horrible. There also were other attacks that happened in Europe in that time frame, including in Norway. In the summer of 2011, Anders Breivik, a right-wing white supremacist terrorist, killed 77 people in a massive terrorist attack on that country. How there's any ambiguity about what that event was and how it's described is beyond any logical conversation. That was terrorism. There was also terrorism in the following examples in the United States. 2012, a Sikh Gurdwara in Wisconsin was attacked by a white supremacist. 6 people were murdered as they worshipped at that temple. In the spring of 2014, a neo-Nazi KKK leader went to 2 Jewish community centers in Kansas and murdered 3 people. In all of these instances, people were murdered because of who they were and what they represented, each acts of hate, each acts of political terrorism, as were the attacks in Paris. So why are these acts not all described in the same way? They're all acts of terrorism. They're all acts of, frankly, small crimes against humanity, obscene expressions of sick, twisted ideologies. All of them, from Paris to Wisconsin. But we only seem to reserve consistently the use of the term terrorism when the perpetrators represent the Islamic faith. And that's a huge problem, not just because it places an unfair burden on Islam and does not take terrorism writ large as the true danger, the true illness that we have to address in every manifestation it comes from, but also because we're not making smart distinctions about what these groups are and what they represent. In some instances, groups like Al-Qaeda or ISIS do represent very specific types of danger that need to potentially be addressed in different ways. But if we're not having an honest conversation about what this all is from the beginning, we're unfairly maligning certain groups indirectly and not calling all groups, all of these acts, exactly what they are. They are terrorism, whether they're committed by white supremacists, Muslim fanatics, Christian fanatics, Jewish fanatics, Buddhist fanatics. It does not matter. The language needs to reflect that. It's essential for our security, it's essential for human rights, and it's essential for basic intellectual coherence. And that is everything you need to know in 3 minutes.